Good morning. Happy Tuesday, December 10th, 2024. It's time to build AI skills daily here with George and Nico. How you fellas doing today?
Doing great, doing great. Finally caught up to both day two and day three for 12 days of shipments. So very excited for yesterday's launch or yesterday's launch. Yeah.
I'm glad somebody's caught up.
I
That's why
know,
you're here,
right?
man. That's why we need you.
Doing good, Chris. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right. Um, yeah, go ahead, dive in, Nico. Today's, I guess, day four of
Uh,
shipments coming up.
yeah. So today is day four. Day two was Friday, and day two was way more for um, way more for enterprise, way more for like science related. Um, it was not necessarily like features for users or that like users would necessarily take a high amount of advantage of, but it was definitely like more of a technical release. And also over the weekend or between last week and this week, there's the ability to use multiple inputs now. So you have the ability to attach stuff, and then you can also call on Dolly if you need to. You can call on, or obviously you have your Google resource as well, and you still have your web resource. So it's kind of like the all-in-one 4 was. Now there's like an all-in-one 4.0. O1 doesn't quite have the same features carried over yet, and O1 Mini doesn't have any, doesn't have like attachment or anything else. So it's a little bit limited in that capacity. And I noticed that O1 is really more like images so far. Doesn't seem to be in documents. It doesn't seem to be set up yet for. Oh, well, I say documents. I should say written documents. Doesn't seem to be set up for spreadsheets and stuff like that yet. But yesterday was really the was two for three for me because of just in terms of like what I thought was going to be dropping and releasing, and so they released Sora, and naturally it is nearly impossible to get into at this point, and that's every it just got completely mobbed yesterday. I didn't even get a chance to look at it until late afternoon, so I definitely couldn't get in. But you can absolutely see the level of quality and where things have gotten to at this point by comparison to where things were at last year or even earlier this year. Um, we're looking at the homepage of Sora right now, so we're watching a lot of the video clips that OpenAI I'm sure has selected and put forward as the clips that they want to show people the most for whatever various reasons. But it's seriously plain as day to see how good the quality is. Like just how very, very realistic it is. And especially so like it may be the case where, oh, okay, like human stuff not so great. I mean, the short clips of human stuff is seriously accurate to the degree that if you were using it for like, a 30-second commercial, a 15-second commercial or something like that, it definitely passes muster. You could definitely use this in place of having to like go buy from Shutterstock or something like that. I thought this is the coolest one. There's like a little looks like it was like a CGI sashimi at the very bottom, and pops up into like a little white rice character. So just again, like sort of example of like how it's very cool. You can see, obviously like the background kind of morphs away and still has like dancing shadow even though there's nothing there. um but yeah, a lot of this is to me amazing. And again, we're at this point now, so that means like mid next year it's going to be probably twice as good as it is now, which is essentially to say that it'll be perfect, right?
Yeah, this is amazing to me because if I layer on like shows, yesterday we talked about Suno, we talked about creating music and background music or music with lyrics, and I didn't talk about it on the show, but I literally started a YouTube channel based on music that we're creating. And when I say we're, me, Sidekick Strategies creating, I look at this, Nico and Chris, and I go, wow, like if you wanted to do inspirational clips like generate me some clouds, generate me a sunset, generate me this guy doing this or this gal generate somebody playing a guitar, like the ability to do these clips and mashing them up into like a music video. And I'm not even just talking for like a YouTube channel, but like a legit like music video for somebody who's like producing real like art. um
Hmm.
this gets amazing to me, like and just, and that's just surface level, like that. Dude, look at the bunny. Like the bunny is just straight up realistic, although I had to laugh at the cat in the
Right.
tie, and the, I'm like, okay, that's something I would generate.
Yeah.
um so it's just, it's really cool, and I can't wait to get access as well. Because I'm sure everybody, every video editor on the planet was probably like waiting with anticipation to see if they could get into this bad boy.
Oh, for sure. And it has the same capabilities that Runway does, I believe. So um, basically, not off the bat, that's kind of how it's kind of how it is with OpenAI. But that's at this, I say that with jesting only because of the fact that eventually it's going to be free. So it's not like you're going to get gated for long. But the the same features as Runway, where you can expand while zooming out. I mean, you can see from like the generated video itself, like when it does do like zooms and expands, it doesn't morph anymore and it doesn't bleed anywhere near as much. It's almost like predetermining a bit, or understanding like what that element is that's going to come next, which has like, it's not. I'm not saying that it has little bits, little elements of like world building to it, that like it sort of builds its own environment based on your prompt, and then kind of shoots the video based off of that. Um, would be a very cool thing to see if that was the case, but I don't think that's the case just yet. Um, but yeah, I love this only because of the fact that you know even when people talk about how cheap it might be to use these types of generative programs, whether it's generative images or generative video, to create whatever it is that they're doing, you know, that the remarks tend to really only come in whenever monetization is involved. But as soon if you remove the monetization aspect of it, realistically, what we're talking about is giving creativity, giving the power of creativity to literally billions of people. That's billions of ideas, billions of creative ideas that we never would have seen before because those people didn't have the ability to do it. So, while on the one side you might be thinking that like this is terrible for art and this is horrible for artists and this, that, and the other thing, I can tell you from experience, from my own experience being an artist, inspiration is everywhere. And you definitely get inspired by other people's work. You definitely get inspired by other people's styles. But you'll never see them if they don't happen. So, like, to me, this is amazing. It's the first time ever in human history that everyone is going to have the ability to tell their own story. I mean, we kind of do now with writing, right? But again, the effort involved, unfortunately, and the time also, right? So there's time, effort, skill. We kind of blockade it with enterprise, right? So like, even if you did write a memoir about yourself, good luck publishing it to get people to be able to download it or listen to it or whatever the case may be. Whereas this is just, again, it's like low effort, high output, while still getting the idea across, right?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I look at, as I'm watching this and listening to you talk, I'm like, and we have seen like things around like video games and generating worlds, and you even said generating worlds like in this video, like the the day that these technologies merge into like one where it you could just walk in and create a world that like look like the Japanese or Chinese lady like clip. I'm like, man, I could be there. Like put on some, you know, what are the goggles and whatever
Yeah,
type you
VR.
like. I'm not gonna judge for which one you like or hate, but put on the goggles and all of a sudden you can look around and it's like AI generating it like as you move, and now all of a sudden you go into the room and like of course in the game I would be a samurai or a ninja because I like samurais and ninjas, but like I'm just imagining like the future is like super crazy
Mm-hmm.
with all of this.
And I think it's important to again highlight it's not replacing um, uh, much. It's creating like into the gap. Like there was nothing like what George is talking about. All the ideas, especially all the songs of the past weekend, those would never have happened
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
like without these tools. And um, while you mentioned it as an unrelated story in the Slack, I think it's very much related about this, big advertising agency um, merger that happened. And the last line of, um, yeah, it says a deal with an estimated value over 13 billion has industry rattling implications, but may not address client demands for simplicity. Simplicity is being able to use tools like this
Mm-hmm.
to create things that you've been relying on advertising agencies and all these other, you know, third parties, which basically like they profit off of complexity
Yeah.
and complication and saying, let's sit down for an hour, let's get the idea out of your head, let's ask all the questions,
Mm-hmm.
then we're going to go take it to our creative team. We got somebody focused on audio, we got somebody focused on video, we got somebody focused on the story, right? And that's like, um, of course they gotta start like consolidating. I don't know how there's gonna be enough business, you know, and that's not to mention the lack of clarity that has been around things like advertising. And that's where once you start to put these tools in our hands and really understand, like, do I need to like pay somebody else? Because at least there's gonna be like, let me see what this looks like first before I ask somebody else to do it,
Right.
which is a power we've never had before, right? And
Yeah.
then how soon before it's like, oh, I think we can run this. I think this is good enough, right?
Yeah.
And do I need 10 other people like looking at it, kind of going through the motions to, you know, make this quote unquote better or passable? Um, so putting, yeah, this is again, we're going to continue to see a shift um, in what's possible, and also, you know, people who have been, and
I mean, to your point, like the and you know, and not, I'm sorry not to cut you off, but just as you were saying that, it reminded me of a conversation that I was having with somebody else the other day, in terms of like, okay, but what happens, right? And especially from an agency point of view, right? Like this, it would seem from the outside that like this is going to like erode that, like to your point, where people within the org are going to have the ability. So like, why hire out to the agency? What I'm seeing is like this parallel that's going on right now, and it's starting at the AI companies, but I see this rapidly happening, like just starting to multiply. I'm seeing from the AI companies, individuals break off and start their own company because they were good at that one thing. Like the companies that are breaking off, Mira Murati is doing her own thing, right? Ilya is doing his own thing. They're not trying to replicate what they like necessarily what the company was doing that they left. They're specializing either in audio or video or sensory perception or whatever it is that they want to do, right? And I see that happening with industry as well, right? I see, you know, George, George might be spinning tables soon. You know what I mean? Like that, like, I was telling my brother about this, that this is the game changer. To me, the singularity is the moment at which humanity either, well, really to me, decides more than realizes, because just realizing it doesn't make it happen. The moment at which humanity decides, hey, I don't have to do what I do every day. I can do what I love doing instead. Right.
Yeah,
So,
we're
like, the enablement.
yeah, I think we're moving into the amount of just even taking this out of big business, the amount of solopreneurs
Yeah.
that you will see over the next 1 to 5 years, in things that you never thought that you could be a solopreneur in doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Listen, I was talking to my son about this whole music thing, and he's like, "Oh, I used that back in the day a little bit, but holy crap, now, wow." And I was like, "Here's an idea I have." And he goes, "Oh God, that's a great idea." And I'm like, "Right?" And I would have there's before it's impossible to like do some of these things. So like and here's the fun. I think this is a the creativity episode, because what's funny is we have to pick an app and we have to pick a prompt, and so my prompt is also a creative prompt. And I'm very curious person. I creative, or I like to think that I'm creative. And so one of the things that I've really gotten into is trying to create the most photorealistic art. And again, I'm going in a very direction of like, I want it to kind of be very real in some scenarios. Now, there's other times where I'm like, yeah, make this look like origami. Like, okay, make this look like a vector. And so what I want to talk about is this idea of the words that you choose, things like photorealistic and suggestions. By the way, I'm not trying to get it to create the photo here. That's not my goal. Then notice I'm like, give me robust prompts. Use the best prompt framework. Like I'm even stating almost a question. Like I don't know what the best prompt framework is, but whatever it is, and then look at this, as well as professional camera lens and lighting details in the prompt, but not in the actual images that will
Yeah.
generate, right? And so I want you to use the settings, but don't put the stuff in my image. I don't need a guy climbing a mountain with a camera around his neck. Like that's not what I'm looking for, right? And stay away from words or text in these prompts, and make them very creative. Now what I'm doing is I'm kind of tuning it. Like, hey, when I tell you to give me choices, be creative in the choices that you're suggesting, not just give me dumb everyday like say suggestions. And so I literally give it like a title, More Than a Feeling, Love as the Fuel of Growth. And it gives me this a warm and intimate scene capturing a couple sitting together on a cozy wooden bench in a lush sun depth. Like, like I'm like, oh yeah, we're heading there. However, I want ideation. So remember, I want 4 prompts moving forward. I want you to give me 4 prompts because I want to be able to look and say, oh, I like that idea. I like this idea. Let me pick and move forward with that. And then I get down here and it gives me 4 prompts, and I'm like, okay, cool. I like this blurred background, so I'm gonna get some bokeh. But then I come down here and I go, hey, remember, these are to be pro camera lens and lighting. Please try again. And so we finally get to the point where we get prompts like this: a couple planting a tree together in a peaceful meadow at golden hour. Golden hour? It knows what golden hour is? Holy crap, professional photography. Can I just say something? Canon EOS R5 50 millimeter f1.2 lens. Okay, now let's go. Like this, we're shooting photos at this point, right? A close up of 2 intertwined hands on, like you can see like the depth and what it's doing, and literally we're just giving it you know we're just giving it little bits of information. So the real deal Holyfield here is, now we take these prompts that I'm getting and I take them over to like Mid Journey or Flux or something like that. And now I end up getting like, do you see the wrinkle? Do you see the hair? Do you see the wrinkle? Do you see like the sparks flying off? Or like here's the woman actually planting a plant in, like look at the cracks in the soil and the bokeh in the background, or like this dude climbing the mountain. Like he's been squinting for a while. Like look
That's
at the
amazing.
like this is like and the hands look right and the bokeh and the snow. And so like I got a fisherman here. And so if you just start to look at when when you use the tool to create the prompts, like look at the red in the river and like the little details in the sparks, like the things that you can create when you simply just go back and realize I don't know everything, but I know a few things. And so, can you use the few things I know and the many things that you to do the thing that we're trying to accomplish? And so, if you're trying to get photorealistic prompts, this is a way that you, or yeah, prompts for imagery. This is a way that you might kind of daisy chain it together to go in a direction that you want to go. And then again, now you have copy and pastable prompts to go into Mid Journey or Flux or whatever. Heck, you could take it into Gamma if you're using Gamma for your presentations. That's probably an app we should talk about in the future. Now, all of a sudden, you got these specific prompts for the imagery that you're going to use in your presentation, and there you've got like 7 image models that you can pick from in Gamma. They like bring them all into one place. Anyway, just that's the prompt of the day. Be creative, be curious, and let it be a helper for what you're trying to do.
Yeah, collaborate. Collaborate with the tool.
Yes.
Um, because you can get, I mean, you can go both ways where it's like, uh, you know, here's 5 words, make an image,
Mm-hmm.
right? And sometimes you might be surprised and like the outcome, but most oftentimes not. Um, in those situations, I found it very hard to like course correct without like just starting a new chat. Um, but also on the other side, when you get so prescriptive that you maybe there's definitely a point where you lose access to the ability of the AI to help you because you're being so prescriptive. And when you put the effort into being that prescriptive, and you're not actually a photographer, uh, it's you're often disappointed with those outcomes too because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And that's where like again, there's a lot of just this creative partner aspect to say, hey, um, I'm not a professional photographer, uh, but I think you know some things. So this is what I'm thinking about. Let's flesh it out together.
And the
Those
other
are
thing too, the other thing too is you might not be a professional photographer, but there's 2,764 YouTube channels that are. There's
at
five
least.
million 117 blogs that are. So
Hmm.
like, hey, what are the? Imagine this, right? Let's just go back to what we're talking about here. Um, Ask the question of what are all the photography terms that I should know about when creating amazing photography? Okay, now I've got the thing of terms. Hey, look at all of these terms and understand what they mean when creating dynamic imagery. Okay, now we're gonna build a prompt. Like, you know what I mean? Like, again, it's like how do you learn in real life? How do you teach in real life? How do you collaborate in real life? Because, by the way, it's how do you teach it because it's going to learn so that you can collaborate, so that you can build. I mean, it's not anything new, it's just done in a new way.
Yeah. And like my favorite things um, are to just like in these situations, like tell it, start out with, I want to use this tool for XYZ to create this thing, right? You might even be
Mhm.
using that tool to do the thing, but you start off, like George says, we're not creating the picture right away. Uh, when you do that and it has a knowledge base or it's in a custom GPT, like you get to focus less on the kind of feeling that you're trying to evoke. And it's just like we're in this space. I'm asking you to do this thing. It's automatically going to apply that context to the thing. And that's how I was creating songs like over the weekend. I just went into the projects I already had. Hey, I'm looking to create a song about this. And, you know, it gives you a lot of the context of the thing you're working on. And I think that's the part, like, with all of this, like, if you're coming at it from scratch every time, like, call us up, like, because the foundation building, like, you're basically building out this world of you know, creativity and productivity and all the itties maybe. I don't know if there's an easy way to pull up the list of those words. Maybe we just apply AI to that. But the ability to work off of what you've already been done, or what has already been done, what you've already accomplished with the tools, um, is just really, really powerful. And especially if you're paying for these tools and you're not leveraging those capabilities. It's one of the reasons we're going to start calling out apps every day. Um, it's you're missing out, and um, just like kind of in the way your brain works. Like when you experience something, the next time you try to do that thing, you got a base of knowledge to work with. Uh, it's fun to be able to do the same things with AI. Well, we appreciate that prompt, George,
Well, thank you.
and and if like George's website, sounds like there's a YouTube channel. All these things are great displays of prompts like this. If you want to check out more results, whether it's photorealistic or just, you know, deciding on a on an aesthetic, you know, for the website. Lots of examples to check out. Uh, and that's the show for today. Obviously, I got to figure out some other close with the new name.
You just need to do
Um,
something like so be the best you possible and go build with AI or something about building with AI, to be honest with you. Because it's about, to me, we're moving into a world of action. You need, we're going to tell you stuff, go do stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing.
So
Let's
embrace AI and let's build.
have a great day, everybody. Excellent.
let's